There's been another shark incident in Sydney, this time a close call at Dee Why on the northern beaches, with a shark taking a chunk out of an 11-year-old boy's surfboard. Meanwhile, the 12-year-old boy attacked yesterday at Vaucluse in Sydney's eastern suburbs remains in a critical condition, with police crediting the boy's friends with saving his life. Here's the latest from Crystal Wu.
Police say it was the first moments after the attack that gave the boy a fighting chance of survival, when a friend risked his own life jumping into the water as others dragged the injured boy onto the rocks, applying pressure to his wounds.
The tourniquets replied they stemmed the bleeding. They stopped the bleeding at the time before putting that young boy up onto the bow of that police boat, and as that police boat drove off at high speed, they were still doing CPR on the boat, hanging on, but keeping that boy alive.
The 12-year-old and his friends were jumping from a 6-metre rock just outside the shark nets at Vaucluse Point. A stormy morning on Sunday had turned into a pleasant afternoon, but police say the conditions may have created a dangerous mix.
We believe the combination of the brackish water, the fresh water, the actions of the splashing may have made that perfect storm environment for that shark attack.
Yeah, such a popular spot there, Nelson Park, Shark Bay on Sydney Harbour. Let's hope this 12-year-old boy recovers. And let me bring in Professor Robert Harcourt, who leads the Marine Predator Research Group at Macquarie University. Thanks for joining us, Robert. We seem to be getting increasing numbers of shark attacks around the coastline of Australia. Is this explained by increasing numbers of sharks and swimmers, or is there something else at play?
Oh, it's a bit more complicated than that, Chris. But yeah, I mean, it's very sad. I mean, very lucky for that boy today. He only had a chunk taken over his board. He can probably put it on the wall and keep that as a precious memento. But that poor boy yesterday was just very, very unlucky. And we hope that he can make a recovery. I know it's quite touch and go there. It's not really that there's more sharks, but there's certainly more people in the water. More and more, we're a water-loving, an ocean-loving nation, and we've got better beaches. The water's cleaner than it used to be in the past, and we've got better means of going in the water. But it's summer also. I mean, the water is particularly warm this season, and of course, as you know, the bull sharks come down and for the summer, and they spend the summer here in the harbour, and as they do in all the estuaries down the coast, and because the water is warming up so quickly, they've come earlier, they stay longer, and then they go back later. And they go all over the harbour. And with the heavy rain we've just had, that as Inspector McNulty said, you know, the fresh water intermixing with the seawater at the entrance to the harbour there brings the food of the bull sharks in close to shore around those rocky reefs, and that's exactly where the boys were jumping in the water.
When it comes to great white sharks, of course, we've got many experts who'll tell us that, of course, numbers have increased there because they are now a protected species, whereas 20, 30 years ago they were hunted extensively. So that's one issue when it comes to those coastal waters. But I suppose when we're focusing on Sydney Harbour at the moment, when you explain to us how common bull sharks are in Sydney Harbour, and when you think of how many people will regularly jump into the harbour waters off the beaches and off boats, it's a hell of a reminder that it can be dangerous there with so many bull sharks around. What's the best way to minimise your chances of being attacked?
Well, actually, Deep Herd put out really good notifications on this. And in fact, the advice they give is more pertinent to bull sharks than it almost is to white sharks. You know, avoid swimming when there's big, heavy influxes of fresh water, because bull sharks, unlike most other sharks, are very tolerant of fresh water. And in fact, They feed a lot on fish that are gathering in those plumes of brackish and fresh water. And I know the boys were playing in the afternoon and it was still bright and sunny, but it had been a very dark and dreary day. And of course, these sharks tend to feed closer to dawn and dusk, but that spreads out. If there's a lot of food around, they'll come in and feed.
Yeah.
You did make a very important point, Chris. There are a lot of bull sharks in the harbour, and they're often right next to people, and we just don't know they're there. And most of the time they're not feeding, but when they are actively searching out prey, then we are very vulnerable, because we're slow and we're not very, we don't have a lot of defences really, especially some small boys jumping in the water and making a splash and just attracting attention.
Yeah, a shocking situation, but really good practical advice there, Robert. Thanks for joining us. Robert Harcourt there, Professor with the Marine Research Centre at Macquarie University.